My name's Kevin Ham, and I'd like to tell you a story of my entrepreneurial journey and the system of information that made all the difference. It was 1994, and I was working as a corrections officer in a federal prison, striving to become a case manager and possibly a unit manager, but not likely anything more than that, as I was unwilling to sign the mobility statement. That was the contract that enabled the Federal Bureau of Prisons to move you anywhere, at any time, for whatever they thought was a good reason. We had just moved to Wisconsin, near my wife Lisa's family, and we had no intention of going anywhere. Every day when I'd go into work, I'd hear a version of this question: how much time do you have left? The answer was usually given in years, but sometimes months and even hours and minutes were added at the end for emphasis, to show the intensity of focus that that individual had on that last day when they'd walk out of those prison doors for the last time. Now, such talk in a federal prison might not surprise you, but what might surprise you is that that question was being asked of staff members by staff members. That's right. We were all doing time, inmates and staff members alike. The former were prisoners by their chosen actions, the latter by our chosen thinking. To add misery to this dreary picture, the average law enforcement retiree died within 10 years of their retirement age of 57. So we were going to work 20 to 30 years to begin the process of dying. It was from this quagmire of thinking that my entrepreneurial spirit got its first spark. I had a passion for trees, and I had the physical abilities and attitude to climb them. So at age 29, I began the process of learning the art and science of all things trees. Beginning with friends and family members, I climbed every tree that I could, offering physical tree services for very reasonable rates or even for free. I asked for nothing but tree science books for Christmas and birthdays and anytime someone wanted to give me something. By August of 1995, I had passed the ISA, International Society of Arboriculture, Certified Arborist exam, and by March of 1998, I signed the paperwork for Ham's Arborcare Incorporated. And by May of that year, I virtually had 2 full-time jobs. If I wasn't at the prison or in a tree, I was sleeping or driving in between. Well, one morning while driving alone to the prison, I thought I'd multitask and combine my drive time with sleep time. And within 1 mile of the prison, I drove my 1985 Toyota Camry under a stopped school bus at 55 miles an hour. Yes, that left a mark. In fact, they left 3 marks where the seatbelt cut into my hips and shoulder. After a vain attempt to slow the business down, by July of that year, Lisa and I knew something drastic needed to happen. And on July 18th, 1998, I walked out of that prison for the last time, exactly 16 years, 7 months, and 1 day before my sentence release date. It was an exciting time, and a lot of people encouraged me along in my endeavor. But had my family members known that I was entering a profession where someone dies every 3 days, the security of the federal prison system may have looked much more inviting to them. That day when I walked out of the prison as a case manager, earning $45,000 a year with benefits, I had a mere $15,000 of work in front of me. No benefits and no promise of future work. Only a willingness to do the work and a desire and passion to meet the needs of my wife Lisa and 3 children. That first year, I completed $65,000 of contracts, certainly enough to pay the bills. The next year, I brought my brother Matt on, and we doubled our numbers to $130,000. In spite of the fact that I ruptured my L4, L5 disc and suffered through the pain of sciatica through December 17th, when I took 2 weeks off for back surgery. That's right, exactly 14 days following back surgery, I was climbing trees again. That's called physical therapy, self-employment style. Little did I know that that back surgery would be put to the test just 4 months later, when on April 19th, 2000, I misconnected and came offline, falling 33 feet backwards to the ground, landing on my head and shoulders. After a $3,000 med flight to the hospital, 4 hours of pictures and scans, I walked out of that hospital with a concussion and a sore rib. 3 days later, 2 of them being Saturday and Sunday, I was back in the trees, making more money. Truly a miracle of God. Sales increased steadily at 20 to 30% per year. In 2001, I was given the advice to apply for every piece of credit that I could to establish a good business credit rating. Remember the day when 3 to 5 credit card applications would come in the mail each week? Well, I filled them all out and sent them all in. And then I started to use them. By 2005, I started to think that my debt-to-income ratio was getting a little unfavorable. But my accountant at the time thought I was so good at making money that I probably didn't need to be concerned. That was the wrong advice. My sales did continue to increase, but my debt rose to match them and even exceed them. It is amazing how cash flow, combined with loose credit, can disguise many problems. In March of 2007, something finally clicked, and I thought I needed to make a change. I quickly enrolled in a business coaching program for a mere $6,000 on credit and began learning just enough information to become dangerous. I don't attribute any blame to that particular organization. They fed me good information, but I came out of that experience thinking I needed to grow out of my problem. That in and of itself wasn't a bad approach, but my overconfidence was my downfall. With the rocking economy of 2007, I was sure our sales would grow 30% in 2008. On that projection, and with no direct counsel, I proceeded in purchasing $300,000 of additional equipment with 100% financing in the third quarter of 2007 and hired 3 additional employees going into the summer of 2008. To my dread, sales went backwards 30% in 2008, the recession of 2008. And by December of that year, with all the extra expenses, things were looking mighty grim. A bankruptcy attorney suggested that I read the writing on the wall and file before the house of cards fell. Fortunately, back in October of 2007, after I'd made many of my confident mistakes, but before the fall of the economy, I connected with the founders of the now Life organization. That association led to an insatiable desire to learn, and I devoured 50 books in a 12-month period of time and listened to countless audios that quickly began to change my thinking for the good. As revenue continued to drop, my understanding of money, my desire to become debt-free, and my resolve to stick to the plan all continued to grow. The basic financial summary is as follows. Revenue peaked in 2007 with 5 full-time employees absorbing 35 to 40% of total revenue. We actually showed a loss that year. By the end of 2008, revenue had dropped by 30% and debt had increased to $800,000. At this time, I was given an opportunity to essentially liquidate my company and become employed by another tree care company that was willing to set up a division in a nearby market area. Unfortunately, that would have sacrificed much of my current customer database, and a potential clause in that deal was that I would have to disassociate with the Life organization. I understood the value that the Life organization and information brought to our situation. And as inviting as that offer may have been to someone seeking security, I was seeking freedom. And in December of 2008, I respectfully declined that generous offer and became resolved to become an expert at getting out of significant debt without bankruptcy. Revenue continued to plummet through 2009, and one by one I lost or laid off most of my employees. My last remaining employee was my foreman and best climber. I coached him through the process of setting himself up as a company and began developing a contractor model for tree service. Revenue for 2010 bottomed out at a little less than 50% of 2007 numbers. But I accomplished that without any employees, and I gave up only about 20% of total revenue to outside contractors. The model was working, and now, instead of trying to get my employees to do their best for me, I was helping individuals become independent. This is a concept that I got directly from the Life organization. My foreman now has a company with revenue greatly exceeding his wage as an employee, and certainly offering him an autonomy that he would never have as an employee. By necessity, I'm currently working much harder physically to keep as much revenue as possible for debt reduction, but in the process, I'm developing a model that will enable me to delegate as much of the work as I want in the future. Numbers for 2011 are similar to 2010, but contractor costs is actually down to 15%. And more importantly, debt is down to $300,000, and by December 2012, all business debt is on track to be eliminated. You know, while I've been telling this story, I've been sitting on a handcrafted pool table. The wood used in its construction was once a declining ash tree in a farmyard. To the average person, that raw material did not possess the potential of this fine piece of furniture. But with the right information, tools, and hard work, something of significant value and satisfaction has been created. Likewise, the situation that I had made to the average person may not have appeared to have much potential, but with the right information, association, and hard work, a very different picture has been created. The primary catalyst in this entire process has been my association and the information that I have gained through the Life organization. And as I am building a community with that organization, it is plausible that all debt, including the remaining portion of our mortgage, could be eliminated by December 2012, just 48 months after the resolve to get it done. With a smoothly running, debt-free contractor model in my tree service, and a loyal and growing community in the Life organization, I will have the choice to focus on my priorities and purpose rather than my obligations. Make no mistake, I am in for life.